In this video we're going to cover the Italian Carcano model 1938 Cavalry carbine in 7.35 by 51. Using my book, that green book I wave around, the model 1891 Carcano rifle, a detailed production history, using that book as a reference guide. Okay, I got some information on this gun. Now, I said that there were some variations that were a little bit more difficult to find in one of my last videos, and this is one of them. There were only 215,000 of these produced, and that's an estimate. It's not exact, but the book and the different arsenals that produced it ended up with an estimated total number of 215,000. This rifle also was a conversion, I believe. The book doesn't go into the detail on the barrels, but supposedly they had an inventory of Cavalry carbine barrels. So they went and took them and rebored them out to the 7.35. Now they rebored these older barrels out. They had a faceted, the flats on the rear of the barrel here over the receiver, and they also turned them to a conical shape like is standard on all the Carcanos after 1938. Have this conical shape, which is on the barrel, which they eliminated the older flat-sided chamber thing. Now again, 7.35s, none of them have gain twist rifling. Okay, so they were bored out with a twist rate of 240 millimeters or 9.45 turn, one turn in 9.45 of an inch. That was the twist rate, and it was constant in all barrel lengths. Okay, and like I said, they recycled these, so it's it must be, the only thing I can kind of come to a conclusion on is the Italians or whoever was behind designing these guns, there was an influence to where they wanted to reuse their older weapons to save money. And a lot of people go, why would they convert something like from the 6.5 millimeter to the 7.35, which really, in terms of the cartridge, wasn't a huge difference in ballistics. It wasn't like going to an 8 millimeter Mauser or something. But now I can see why, because now you had a cartridge that'll fit any action, and all you had to do is rebore the barrels, even if they're really not, if they're shot out or worn, you're reboring them out another, 10, 15 thousandths or whatever, and cutting the rifling, and now you got your used barrels turned into brand new barrels. So I can see why they adopted that cartridge and why they went with it. But see, the other question is, why would they bother doing something like this when they already designed the 1938 short rifle, which should have just been a universal rifle issued to the whole Army? And actually the gun's criterion design fits everything that, the three different variations. The little troop special carbine, the folding bayonet, cavalry carbine, and then the standard infantry rifle were all covered. But the Italians still converted these. I didn't know that. I didn't know that these were conversions. So, like I said, they only produced about 215,000 of them. And there's a lot of variations. He does cover here, like the barrels, and we'll take a closer look. The way this is done varied from one arsenal to another, so there are variations in it. And another problem they had is this gun was designed in 1938, and World War II started in 1939. So when you're right in the middle of shifting your main caliber, modifying guns, building new guns, and doing this, it became a pretty serious problem. So they stopped the production of the 7.35 rifles, and within a matter of a few years. I think by 1940 or 41, they weren't making them anymore. The most common variation of the short rifle was a group of them, or a large number of them, were given as military aid to Finland. And they were later imported back to the United States, and they will have the SA stamped on the barrel. Where I don't think they gave away any of these, and their other two variations would be the Troop Special and this Cavalry carbine. And there's some markings on the stock in that are more just to this particular model gun, and we'll go over that when we take a closer look. But that's basically the long and short of it. It's Carcano Cavalry carbine that has a modified barrel to a different caliber. It uses the 1938 fixed sights. And the fixed sights on this, the book says, is set for 200 meters. Not 300, 200 meters. And that's what he says in the book. And we have the continuous rifling. The gain twist rifling is not used on 7.35 rifles. And so now we'll go and take a little bit closer look at the rifle itself and some of the features on it. Okay, and as with all Carcanos, the carbines have the bent down bolts, but same bolt system. I believe because you use the same shell holder, I don't think they had to modify the bolts at all to go from the 6.5 to the 7.35. And this is set up like a Model 38 with fixed sight. And it will have the, try to get it to focus, the caliber designation on the rear sight. And it has the handguard of the 38 Cavalry carbine, the folding bayonet with the button, and the front end standard like the later produced rifles or carbines in 6.5. Basically, they actually look identical, other than the markings. On the barrel, on this one here, we have our fascist. This is 1938, and the Roman numerals for the fascist date. The Tirreni arsenal markings. And when we get to the other side with the serial number, there's some other markings on here we'll go over that I don't have on any other examples. And as you can see, it's been pretty well stamped over, but we have the serial number, we have a square box, and I believe the thing on the very bottom of the three things under the serial number is the shield and crest. And then this rifle also has the crossed rifle, supposedly with a bullseye, which is a, I'll go over what that is here in a second with the book. Okay, here it is. What this little symbol is two crossed rifles and a bullseye. And he calls it an accuracy marking. And in the book, he covers what this really means. You have to excuse me, I forgot what they call it, but we'll take a look at it, and I'll tell you how he explained it. Somewhere in, you have to read the book to find where he mentions this. Okay, what the accuracy marking is, people have said that it was for target rifles or a special thing that, was accuracy, or sniper rifles, or marked that way because it was a prize in a shooting contest. But somewhere in the book he explains that what that is 10% of any production run. So say you had 1,000 rifles. 100 of them would be taken out and put in a bench or set up somehow and test fired. And basically it was to check to make sure the barrel quality was good and your sights were regulated and set for the proper distance. These guns would be tested. If they passed the test, they were given the stamp. And if all the guns out of the lot passed, then the whole production lot was certified as good. That's what that stamp is. I believe that's what the book explained it. And since there were fewer of these, you'll probably see more of those stamps on the rarer guns. But 10% of all Carcanos will have that stamp on the receiver. Okay, I hope that explains that. Now, all the markings on this rifle are fairly worn, so I tried highlighting the stock markings on here. In order to avoid confusion, all Italian rifles in the 7.35 caliber that were kept in service will be stamped. And I had to use the talcum powder to highlight this because I'm not going to clean the wood or anything. And we're stamped caliber 7.35. You can't see that. That's the stock stamping, which is kind of hard to see. There's a number up there, and then down in here is the actual serial number of the gun. But that's another way that you'll know if the gun was not given away to the Finns, is the Italians stamped all of their 7.35 rifles with that in the stock there. That's another unusual marking on these guns. But as you can see, it's pretty much worn. You can't even really quite make out what that other stock stamping is. But it's there, so the gun is correct. This rifle also had the trapdoor in the buttstock, and it has the correct 3-piece cleaning rod. How you know it's correct is you have 2 of them that had that little notch in there, and then this is the one that goes on the top where you put your patch. But that's the correct setup for the cleaning rods. They sell repros, but they'll sell you like 3 of these types. They don't have the actual upper or end type, but that's the original 3-piece cleaning rod set that goes in there. Also, this gun is not import marked, so this is an old one that got imported before 1986. So this one's been around a while, and very interesting variation on it. Okay, so that's the story on this variation of the Carcano rifle system, and I will probably make a video on reloading for the 7.35. You can get the components, and I'll go over that in the video, but you don't find it that often, and most people, it seems, they'll fire one of these guns or these old guns a few times and they don't really shoot a lot of ammunition, so it can be difficult to locate. But Lee does make a die set for it, and you can still get the components, but more, I'll cover all of that in the video on reloading for this. But maybe we'll go out and try a few rounds through it, see how it shoots. And now I got, this is I have 2 rifles in this caliber, so I may get into, I'll get into a video on reloading for it, for those of you interested in it. Okay.